You ever have one of those moments where your whole world shifts in a heartbeat like? 1 second you're half listening to the safety speech, thinking about the peanuts, or maybe dreading a middle seat, and the next, everything's chaos? That was Flight 447, cruising over the Rockies at 35,000 feet, when Captain Castillo's voice cracked over the intercom and said, "Any pilots here?" And I swear, every soul on that plane froze, begging that someone else would stand up. It was dead quiet, except for the hum of panic building in the back of my mind. I never figured it'd be me. Hell, I spent the first half of that flight doing my best not to be noticed sitting in 23F, economy class, blending in with my old leather jacket and a face that folks tend to forget 2 minutes after meeting. Just another nobody, right? Yeah, that didn't last. Let me back up a sec. Denver International, 3 hours earlier, was its usual mess business travelers in press suits, people dragging roller bags that barely fit in the bins, kids melting down by the Cinnabon. Flight 447 to Chicago was boarding at gate A23, and there I was, carrying a duffel that still smelled like jet fuel and desert sand from a lifetime ago, waiting for my boarding group to be called. I guess I stood out military surplus bag, jeans with more stories than fabric left, and hair pulled back tight, trying to look busy scanning the weather through those big terminal windows. Old habits die hard, you know what I mean? Boarding started, the usual, shuffle everyone, thinking they'll beat the clock if they wedge in faster. I hung back, watching the crew, eyeballing the plane out on the tarmac, picking up on the tension between ground crew and the mechanics poking around the left engine. Didn't like that, but I told myself, not your circus, not your monkeys. Eventually, they called my group, and I found my way to my seat, offered a hand to an old guy wrestling a roller bag, got a grateful smile. Settled in at 23 window seat. Perfect for folks who like to watch, but not be watched. Except no such luck. Next to me, a guy in his late 30s, slick haircut, suit just a little too perfect, sat down, already annoyed that he wasn't in first class. Name was Logan Hart. The kind of guy who's never heard no in his life. You could just tell. "I think there's a mistake, this is my seat," he said, showing me his ticket for the third time. I just showed him mine, didn't even bother looking up. Let him stew in it. You could feel him judging me bag, my jacket, my everything, trying to figure out what I was doing in his world. Next to him was Diane Scott and her little girl Chloe, full of questions, bouncing with nervous energy. Diane had that exhausted mom look, the kind you get from fighting wars nobody ever gives you a medal for. "Mommy, can I have the window seat?" Chloe pleaded again and again. Diane just shook her head, smiled. "Not this time, sweetie." Her voice worn but steady. While Logan bragged about his million miles and how airline standards had gone downhill, I watched those mechanics out the window way too long fussing over that engine. Captain Castillo finally came out, had a serious talk with the crew, a lot of hand-waving and worried looks. You get a sense for these things when you've been in the service when a professional's worried. You should be too. After a while, they announced a minor maintenance delay. Logan rolled his eyes, got on his phone, barked at his assistant about meetings. I watched Castillo come back in shoulders tight, not the relaxed swagger you want from your pilot. 25 minutes later, we finally pushed back. As we taxied out, I closed my eyes and did the breathing exercises Dr. Pierce taught me at the VIA healing breaths, focus, control. Didn't expect to need them. Not really. Turns out, I need every trick in the book. Takeoff was fine roar of the engines, that little lurch in your stomach when the wheels leave the ground. But at 8,000 feet, a vibration started. I fell on the floor before anyone else seemed to. The flight crew noticed 2 panicked glances, quiet murmurs. And then the real fun began. Frontier 447, Denver departure returning with an engine anomaly, Captain Castillo said, as calm as you please. That's the moment you start calculating. Fuel, altitude, glide ratio, options. I could tell from his tone things were getting worse, fast. Left engine went out first. Not great, but you can limp a 737 in on one engine. Then the right engine coughed, sputtered, and died. Full silence, like God hit the mute button. I looked around. People started to notice the hum was gone. That's when fear became real, thick enough to taste. Then, bunga burst of sparks up front, and First Officer Ortiz slumped over, blood on her cheek. Electrical smoke filled the cabin, alarms everywhere, oxygen masks dropping, passengers panicking, flight attendants hustling up and down the aisle. Captain Castillo came over the PA, voice tight, serious mechanical difficulties, prepare for emergency landing. People started praying, crying, clutching each other. Logan, for once, had nothing to say. And then, any pilots here? That's when the universe pointed straight at me. I didn't want it. Honestly, after the Air Force, after Phoenix 7, I was done, washed up, finished, not fit for duty. But when it's your turn, you stand up. I got out of my seat, nodded at the flight attendant, tried to push me back. I'm a pilot. And pushed forward, through the chaos, through the rising dread, all the way to the cockpit. Inside, Castillo's face was all strain and sweat, juggling what little was left of the plane systems. "What's your background?" he asked without looking away from the dying instruments. "Air Force, test pilot, 3 years. Emergency procedures," I told him. He didn't waste a second, just slid over, started briefing me. "Everything's manual, batteries draining, no engines, losing altitude, no comms, no, an AV." I slid into the co-pilot's seat. Felt like coming home and falling off a cliff at the same time. Meanwhile, out in the cabin, passengers were losing it. Logan stood up, yelling about how we couldn't just let some random woman fly the plane. Dr. Pierce, cool as ever. Got him to sit down, trust the crew. Panic isn't helping anyone. That man could calm a riot just by standing there. Back in the cockpit, I did the math, checked every gauge, every backup, every crazy long shot. Airports? Too far. Every option dead-ended in a mountain. Then I saw it, Interstate 25, snaking through the valleys. "What about the highway?" I said. Castillo gave me that look like, "Are you nuts?" But he knew it was that or nothing. The hardest part wasn't the flying, believe it or not. It was the memory. Phoenix 7, the test flight that ended my career, the one where everything that could go wrong did, and I had to bring a dying aircraft down, losing the jet but saving the crew. The brass called it acceptable risk, then told me I'd never fly again. But all that chaos, the improvising, the math in your bones flying feed, made me exactly what was needed right now. Energy management is everything, I said to Castillo. We had one shot, one perfect approach. Too high, we overshoot. Too low, we crash. Too fast or slow, game over. The highway below was a ribbon, just wide enough, maybe. 3 sets of power lines had to go under, then over, then thread the needle between towers. Try that in a 737 with no engines. See how you feel. Flight attendants were prepping everyone for impact, showing them crash positions, yelling over the noise. There was this young Marine, Austin, in row 18, kept the elderly calm, helped folks brace. Little Chloe was crying, Diane holding her, whispering that they'd walk away together, no matter what. Coming in, the power lines rushed up. First one, duck under, so close I saw the paint peeling on the tower. Second, pull up, trade airspeed for altitude. Third, just a gap the width of nightmare, thread it. Steady, steady, and then clear. I heard Castillo breathe for the first time in 5 minutes. We had the highway now for the median, because a white sedan was dead ahead, and there was no way to miss him on the pavement. Grass is better than concrete at 150 miles per hour, in case you're curious. Landing gear, manual hydraulics shot. Nose gear stuck. Didn't matter. Touchdown, and the median felt like an explosion, metal screeching, everyone bracing, bodies straining against belts. The gear collapsed. We slid sideways, sparks flying, me working the rudder and brakes like I was wrestling a bull. Castillo shouting that we were drifting toward oncoming traffic. I got us straight, barely then. Finally, the plane shuddered to a stop. Silence, like the world had ended. Then came the crying, the laughing, the relief. We were alive, all 147 of us. Not a soul lost. Evacuation was chaos, slides popping open, fire trucks and ambulances everywhere, paramedics treating bumps and bruises. Dr. Pierce was already helping the injured, Austin carrying Ruth, the Marine as steady on the ground as in the air. Logan, for once, just muttered, "I can't believe that worked." Diane and Chloe hugged like they'd never let go. Then came the media, reporters everywhere, sticking microphones in my face. How'd you do it? NTSB, Air Force folks, everyone wanted the story. And for the first time since Phoenix 7, I wasn't hiding. Just did what I was trained to do. I told them, even though I knew it was more than that. Test pilots are trained to improvise when the world falls apart, to trust their gut and make the call. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it ends your career. My grandma heard my name on the news, drove through police barricades like a woman on a mission. When she found me, she just hugged me, didn't say a word. She knew what it cost to step up when nobody else would. Now, everyone wants to know, should military pilots be training civilians? Are our safety protocols too rigid, too safe? What happens next time a plane loses everything at 30,000 feet and there's nobody in 23F to pick up the pieces? Maybe they'll change the rules. Maybe they'll just move on when the next story hits. But those 147 people never forget that day. As for me, I'm not sure what comes next. Maybe it's interviews, maybe it's another shot at flying, maybe it's something else entirely. All I know is sometimes you do everything right and life still kicks you in the teeth. But once in a while, you get to be the difference between tragedy and miracle. And that's enough. So, now at your turn, what do you think? Did I do the right thing? Or did I gamble with too many lives? Should pilots be allowed to break the rules if it means saving the day? Or should we always stick to the book, even if the book can't cover everything? Tell me below, right or wrong. Would you want someone like me in your cockpit if the world fell apart at 35,000 feet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, real, raw, no sugarcoating, hit subscribe. Tomorrow, we've got a tale that'll make your hair stand on end. See you then.